Hi, my name is Juan. I'm from Rosario, cradle of many football talents. When someone is eccentric, devoted to perfection, humble, great teacher, and has a brave soul, surely he will leave a legacy. That's Marcelo Bielsa. I would like to take you on a virtual tour to connect places and stories in Marcelo's life. These places in Rosario and surroundings have influenced the soul of this unique man. Let's walk through the Loco way. Rosario is the third most populous city in Argentina. It's located at the heart of the major agro-industrial corridor in the country. It was mid-50s, a bustling neighborhood in Rosario, just 1 mile away from Rosario Center. Marcelo Bielsa landed the world into a traditional and aristocratic family. Close to Libertad Square, in a bustling neighborhood, there was Marcelo Bielsa's childhood house. His mother Lydia came from a working class background. She led her children to meet both sides of the social tracks. A product of the Argentine middle classes, Bielsa has always been inspired by difference, rebelling against the norms of his social cycles. Most of the members of his family became lawyers or politicians, but Marcelo decided to choose football for his life. He was the family's black sheep. This is Marcelo's childhood house. In the courtyard of the house, the Bielsa brothers, Marcelo and Rafael, had played highly competitive games that had a beginning but never an end, except that something would cause an nuisance. They both remember the day that Marcelo discovered that his brother was cheating, and he had no better idea to toss a can of peaches over his head. The aim was the forehead, and the conclusion was a scar that Rafael shows as a memory of that incident. Just around the block, there is Normal Number 3 School. It's primary school. Marcelo's mother wanted him to study hard for at least 2 hours per day after coming back from school. Marcelo's already had some unusual habits, like getting dressed in a shirt and tie the night before school and sleeping like that because he didn't like to get dressed in the mornings. Marcelo's daughter went to the school as well. Corner of Viamonte and Mitre Streets. Boy Marcelo usually joined his football mates for a pick-up football every Saturday at Parque de Independencia Park. When he was a kid, his nickname was Pithead. Once upon a time, the guy was falsely accused of breaking a window glass. The police wanted to take the oldest player to the police station. Suddenly, to avoid this injustice, Marcelo plunged to the police boots to defend his mate. Unfortunately, his effort didn't pay off, and he was also arrested. When his father went to the station to pick him up, he refused to leave until the ball is returned to him as well. Not far from this place, there was Marcelo's grandfather's house. Marcelo Bielsa learned from his grandfather Rafael, a pillar in Argentinian public law, that knowledge was power, knowledge gleaned from his collection of around 3,000 books at his home. At this house he was treated as Boy Marcelo. At the same time he used to play pick-up football in the square across the street with his mid-class mate. After Rafael sold the house, it became a branch of the National Intelligence Service. Now we go to Mendoza Margarce Corner. The news was stormy at that time. Early 70s. Once finished the high school, he must decide between to study or to work. He unsuccessfully attempted to join the agronomy school. He only wanted to play football, even if it meant leaving home. He asked for permission to stay at Newell's club Darmy, but it was difficult for him to be accepted to the fact he was living in Rosario and that place was for countryside players only. On top of that, he belonged to a wealthy family and accommodation was an issue for him. Fortunately, after insisting many times to the staff dormitory or living there, he was finally accepted. Marcelo's determination and his love for his vocation started to show his great personality. However, the stay in Mendoza and Moreno's dormitory did not last long. Bielsa was crazy about motorcycles, and he had no better idea to put a motorbike inside his room so no one could touch it. After a while, the smell of gasoline inside the room was unbearable. The bike slept next to him, but he couldn't stay there. One day he decided to return home. Many times, Marcelo is asked about his times as a player, and he always answered the same thing. I was a player. I failed, but I played in the first team. In 1976, he was part of the Argentina national team, made up entirely of the Newell's World Champion under 23. This team won the bronze medal in the Recife Olympic Cup. He shared the achievement with players like Jorge Valdano and Americo Gallego. He was a lazy frontal butt limit and a quite slow defender. At that time, he started to study rival players and game situations before playing the match. In general, a football coach usually commands and does not accept a young player to demand and challenge his methodology. But Marcelo was an exception. He was very self-demanding, critical to coach and colleagues as well. He has played just few games in First Division. In the picture, Marcelo Bielsa is making his debut against River Plate, chasing down former Leeds United midfielder Alex Abela. Now let's move to the north side of Rosario. Physical Education College number 11 in Granadero Baigorria. Marcelo realized after only first team appearance that his talent lay more in an innate appreciation how and why things happen on a pitch than what he could actually do with the ball himself. So, at the age of 25, he quit, enrolled to become PE teacher, and 2 years later, in 1982, got a job managing the University of Buenos Aires football team. Do you know Marcelo was a news agent owner? As young boy, Bielsa was used to receiving sport magazine at his family phone. Mother Lydia used to allow children to read them, taking into account his weekly merits. Marcelo is devoted to reading, especially about football. He used to keep an eye on a news agent while its owner was delivering the newspaper. It was the moment when he read all the news about football. Later on, he offered himself to be the newspaper boy, a canijita as we call here. Lately, together with a former football mate, he bought a news agent near a hospital. He became an expert on getting sport magazines from around the world. The kiosk lasted 10 years before it was sold. The habit of buying all sports magazines would stay on the time as well as the fidelity to his friends. Now let's move to the west side of the city. This is the Newell's Bella Vista complex. In 1982, Marcelo contacted Jorge Grifa, football director at Newell's, and he said to him, I want to play by your side. Finally, he was accepted as coach for your squad. At that time, Grifa was leading a big transformation in Newell's, and his result would be seen later. The Bella Vista complex on the west side of Rosario was the new site to develop many talents. Under Bielsa, every training session was like a masterclass. No holidays, no rainy days, hard training for almost 7 hours per session. Bielsa have trained all your squads and Newells. They were all champions. The madman was called to be a different coach. In 2018, Marcelo donated $2.5 million toward the cost of the new hotel named Jorge Grifa, only for first division players. He said, and actually paying a debt to Newell's rather than making a gift. Bielsa showed Grifa a revolutionary project. He raised the possibility of traveling throughout and across the country to contact coaches of different locations and thus recruit players. For this, he divided Argentina in 70 pieces, placing in each one a representative. He traveled all throughout the country in a Fiat 147, recruiting talents. Around 25,000 kilometers were traveled. It is said Bielsa and Grifa traveled to Murphy Town, 500 miles away from Rosario, and knocked on one of the talents' door. After introducing each other, they asked the father to see the boy's legs. It was 1 a.m. The boy's mother pulled the covers off, and both recruits said, "These are football legs." The guy was Mauricio Pochettino, who was about to sign a contract with Rosario Central and was finally persuaded by Bielsa and Grifa to try out for its rival, Newell's Boys. It was through Maria Eugenia that Marcelo met his wife, Laura Bracalenti, a fellow architect with whom he would have two daughters, Ines, who was born in 1989, and Mercedes, 3 years later. The young family shared a humble apartment in Martin neighborhood during Newell's time. Now let's move to the Newell's Football Palace, El Coloso del Parque. Once Torneo Clausura began, Marcelo said, "There will be no players who do not sacrifice. In football, there is a saying that says that if you play well, probably you don't run, and vice versa. But we are going to try to play well and run," he said. He made all players reach their highest performance. On the field, the 10 players attacked, and when they lost the ball, the 11 defended. The 3-3-3-1 formation, full possession, and aggressive attack started to be recorded as a trademark. The high pressing over rivals was innovative and effective. The intensive competition led Newell's to fight for the championship until the last game. They had barely a slight advantage over their close rival, River Plate. The outcome was happy for the red and black squad. River lost the last game and they won the trophy. When celebrating victory, Marcelo shouted his love for the club. "Newell's carajo!" A legend was born. In 1990-1991, the Argentine league season was split into two parts followed by a playoff between the two champions. La Lepra, as Newell is named, triumphed in the championship finals match on penalties against Boca Juniors. That was a legendary achievement played in the iconic Bombonera Stadium. Another anecdote tells that early 1992, Newell's lost a home match 6-0 against San Lorenzo. After that incident, a group of ultras turned up at Bielsa's home to complain. Bielsa received them with a grenade in his hands and he threatened to pull the pin if the fans didn't leave. Another epic game was to win a derby match with almost all substitute players. Dia del Padre, Father's Day, means for any US fans, the day we won the Clásico with our reserve team. El Bielsa bet he'd cut off his own finger if it guaranteed victory in a derby match. The path of Bielsa and Newell's had had plenty of emotions, learning, and glory.